everyone. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We are so excited to be able to present this wonderful information about accessing preschool. My name is Alyssa Phillips, and I am an attorney at the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless. And I am so excited to be here today with our three amazing panelists who are going to be talking about the preschool application process. So we have Tiffany Junkins, who is the Manager of Family Support Programs at the Department of Family and Support Services. Cristina Vera, who's the CEO of Vera Creative, and Leslie McKinily, who is the Deputy Chief of Early Childhood Education at Chicago Public Schools. There's going to be some really good information in this presentation, so if you have questions or comments, please put them in the question and answer part. And then after the presentation, we will go through those. And now I'm going to pass it along.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alyssa. Thank you for having us. We are thrilled to be here. We're just going to start with some quick intros, just give you a little background on kind of our role as it relates to preschool. So my name is Cristina Vera, as Alyssa mentioned, with Vera Creative. We are responsible for making sure that City of Chicago knows that they can apply for preschool today. So, so the application is open today. Our role in this effort is the marketing, the outreach, and really just making sure that parents know how to access the application. Thank you so much for having me. I'll pass it over to Tiffany.
Thank you, Cristina. So I'm Tiffany Junkins. I'm one of the managers at the Chicago Department of Family and Support Services. At the Department of Family and Support Services, we support programs from prenatal through 5. And so we're really excited to be able to talk about this very important topic. I'm going to pass it to Leslie.
Great, thank you, Tiffany. Leslie McKinily, again, Deputy Chief Officer, Early Childhood. And my role in this work is really to support our principals of our elementary schools, helping to help families ensure that they have the information that they need in order to enroll in our both full day and half day programs across the district, and really to be that support to the outreach team that really helps to get the word out. As Cristina mentioned, our application launched today, this morning. So we are really excited about it. And thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, Leslie. So I want to just, before we move on to the next slide, want to just give you a quick summary of Chicago Early Learning. So Chicago Early Learning is a collaborative effort in the city of Chicago that encompasses the mayor's office, Chicago Public Schools, and the Department of Family and Support Services that all work together to administer preschool at over 600 sites across the city. So those three entities come together, collaborate, work really hard to make sure that there are diverse program offerings all across the city so that more children have access to early education. So that's Chicago Early Learning. That's where you can go to fill out the application. You can type in Chicago Early Learning in your browser and find the preschool application starting today. So we could go ahead and move to the first slide. And I just kind of want to talk about why it's so important, you know, why all these people come together to make sure families are enrolled. And, you know, if you think about it, you know, 90% of a child's brain is developed by the age of 5. So they essentially have 5 years to really gain a lot of the critical components needed for lifelong learning and lifelong success. So that's why this effort is so critical, very focused on that birth to 5 that Tiffany mentioned, and making sure that children are exposed to the right things, that they're in the right environments, that they have access to all of the tools that help them to grow in the best possible way. We can move to the next slide. So as I mentioned, it is a critical period. Children are developing at such a rapid pace. So a language is so important to children during birth to 5. Every word that a child hears builds the brain. So, just an example, instead of saying, Billy, get your shoes on. If you say, Billy, can you get your yellow galoshes on? Those words matter. So using more descriptive words. So their growth is shaped also by the places they go and then the people they meet. Our early learning program, our spaces are designed specifically with child's needs in mind. Our teachers are qualified to help children grow. So they're bringing all of the things that children need to continue to stimulate and grow their brain. So we know that children benefit from strong relationships with their caregivers. All of our teachers and assistant teachers and staff at our agencies are not just qualified, they are also very intentional, loving. They were so sad when they couldn't hug the kids during COVID. We had stories of teachers just being so sad about that, but it's a very caring and safe environment. Because of this, they're set up for life to excel and thrive in classroom settings, getting used to routines, understanding socialization, and they're excited to learn because they're confident and enthusiastic about learning. Next slide. So quality learning environments reinforce brain development. So this means that children's experiences not only affect what information a child learns, but how they process this information. So, if you walk into any early learning classroom, you might see a water table and see children pouring water from one container to the other. This is building the foundation for math because they're understanding measurement and understanding so many things. So a lot of the toys that you see in early daycare centers are also intentional. They are the building blocks for literacy, math, science, and let's not forget that imagination is important for kids because kids have to expand their mind as well. So Chicago Early Learning provides children with a dedicated time for guided discovery, free play, and the building blocks of discipline, intelligence, and creativity.
And one other thing I'll mention, Cristina, is we tend to look at the environment as a second teacher. So not only are they learning from that staff person or staff persons that are in the room, as Cristina mentioned, through all of those exploration areas within a preschool classroom, they're also learning from that environment.
Absolutely, absolutely. We could move to the next slide. Tiffany, I'll pass it over to you.
Absolutely. So when we're thinking about our children across the city of Chicago, we want to really ask ourselves, what really is at stake for children? So our at-risk children who receive high quality early learning education, there's some positives in it, right? And so from the statistics, 75% of them are more than likely to graduate from high school. We want to definitely see that number be a little higher, but 40% are less likely to become a teen parent. And 50% are less likely to be placed in special education. 40% are more likely to attend college. 30% are less likely to be arrested for a violent crime. So, when we think about at-risk children, we want to be able to do the most and what we can to make sure that we're reaching the most vulnerable population. And so the word at risk, it really does describe what this conversation is truly about. When we're thinking about some of the benefits that they can experience, whether it's in, face-to-face instruction or remote, there's a lot of gains that can be made here. And our children are our biggest investment, and we want to make sure that we invest very wisely.
I agree. And I just want to add one thing to that, Tiffany, is, in a year when children have essentially lost a year of learning, right? Like, we know that children, because of remote learning, many children fell behind. Now is time to catch up, right? And so we want to provide the opportunities for continued learning. We want children to get ahead. We don't want them falling behind. And that's another reason why early learning is so important. We could start with Tiffany on this slide as well.
Absolutely. So early learning programs across the city provide additional resources and services to families experiencing homelessness. Community-based programs, they take a holistic approach to service delivery and support the entire family, connecting with parents with a array of social services, including medical and dental services, parenting skills, career planning, rental assistance, GEL, and ESL, to name a few. I do want to also say that, you know, Cristina had mentioned the learning loss that has been suffered with, you know, with our children. This pandemic has caused a lot of shifts in people and their circumstances. We do want to be sensitive to the fact that some people have suffered a lot of loss, and we want to make sure that everybody understand what their rights are under the McKinney-Vento Act. And so when we defined homelessness, just understanding that children and families who experience homelessness, being homeless, it describes a situation, but it does not define the person in that situation. And I think that that's very important. A lot of times that may carry a negative connotation. And we want people to understand that children who live in an unstable living environment due to instability often experience a disruption in the continuity of relationships that young children need for optimal learning and development. And so it's very critical and crucial to make sure that we identify those who need the most help and making sure they get it and making sure there's no barriers that's preventing them from being able to access education.
And in the district, just to follow up to what Tiffany said about families or students not feeling comfortable, we surveyed and we found that about a little over 65% of students didn't feel comfortable saying that. So I think that they were in a temporary living situation, or that they were experiencing homelessness. And I think we have to be sensitive to that. So I think that's more important why these conversations need to happen, because, you know, people may not feel comfortable saying, but we need to arm them with the information and with the resources that are available to them under this protection, so that they can access what they need in order for students to be successful. So with that being said, in the district, there are services that we provide. Families in temporary living situations at CPS schools, they have assigned an STLS liaison that works with them and supports them through the enrollment process. They're able to also ensure that they receive immediate enrollment and participation in not only our early learning programs, but any of our district offered programs or operated schools. They also support them with ensuring that they have transportation services for their school of origin. They make sure that they have access to Title I funds, which allows them to have purchase uniforms or things like that, or basic supplies that may be needed. They also support them with any fees, waiver, completion of waivers for school fees or anything like that. And then they also are able to dispute any, enrollment disagreements or anything like that. So that STLS liaison within the district is a valuable resource. Like I said, every school has them. I would definitely refer families to that resource.
Absolutely. And I think Tiffany brought up a great point when she talked about the McKinney-Vento, policy. And I think it might be important to define that now. And, so the definition of homelessness under the McKinney-Vento is children or youth who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence and are considered homeless. So including those who are sharing housing of others due to loss of housing or economic hardship. So it's often referred to as like doubled up. Families that are living in an emergency or transitional shelter, if they're living in a hotel, motel, trailer park, or camping ground due to lack of alternate adequate accommodations. If they're living in a car, a public space, abandoned building, substandard housing, a bus or train or similar setting. If they have a primary nighttime residence that's not private, or public space not designated or ordinarily used as a regular sleeping accommodation, or people living in an abandoned hotel. So, you know, I think sometimes when we think of homeless, there might be just like one idea, but it is quite a diverse definition that also includes, you know, temporary, accommodations, and want to make sure that families are empowered to and feel the confidence to speak up and let folks know that they are in this situation, so that they could receive the adequate services.
That's a great point, Christina. And I think a part of this is really that education piece so that people understand. And I think sometimes when they think of the word homeless, I'm homeless, sometimes you think of the people who may stay in shelters or they lack shelter. And that's not always necessarily the case, right? It's that wider definition that you talked about. I want to use a term too, just to, so that maybe others can identify. And I'm going to say couch surfing, right? And so if you know people who they're going from couch to couch and they're sleeping here and sleeping there, they may have a roof over their head and shelter, but is it stable? Is it substandard living? And so those types of things, when people have those conversations, we have our people at our community-based organizations and also Chicago Public Schools who are trained to have those conversations to identify when they hear those types of things and understanding that there's additional services that they may be able to apply for. And we want to be very, very careful and sensitive to the fact that the word homeless may not always be the best approach. And so an unstable living environment is something that we want to talk about when we're talking to parents and children.
Absolutely. We can move on to the next slide. Great.
All right, so due to numerous barriers, and we kind of talked about some of them, but homeless children receive fewer early learning services than other children. Students experiencing homelessness receive prioritized placement in Chicago early learning programs. We want everyone to know that if you are experiencing homelessness, remember that's a situation. But if you're experiencing that, we want everyone to know that families who are experiencing homelessness, that you guys qualify for our programs. And, it's regardless of income, it's the situation that you're going through, you need some additional support, and we're going to be here to help you. We have, as Cristina mentioned in the beginning, over 600 locations, whether they're school-based, community-based. We want to be able to open our doors and open our arms to be able to help support you and your families. And, the verification process is pretty easy and simple, but we don't want to put up barriers that's going to prevent you from being able to get the services that you need.
And in the district, we like to say that our STLS students have a right to immediate enrollment. So there's no documentation required at the time of enrollment. Obviously, our STLS liaison, that's part of their role to be able to support the family with getting that information, but it's not required to enroll and even attend. Same day enrollment, full participation is something else we like to share, in that the caregiver is supported with, as Tiffany mentioned, verification. Although it's not required upon enrollment or even to register for pre-K, we still have that STLS liaison as a support to help mitigate that barrier and to be that trusted friend to work alongside the family to get those required documents if they're available. So when we think about families experiencing homelessness, we know that early learning programs are essential to provide that quality education that builds that lifelong learning experience. So, we like to provide these additional supports so that there is not a break in service. We want there to be continued education for our youngest learners. So if they go to a child care center, for 2-year-olds. We want them to stay there for 3. And if they start off at a CPS preschool program, we want them to be able to continue. We know that homelessness status does not roll over year. So we know families still would need to recertify, if for lack of a better word, each year their status, because we know that status changes. But one of the ways that we have that instant access is so that they don't experience a break in their educational experience. So we want to be able, if they started at one school, we want to be able to keep them at that same school so they can get that early foundation.
All right, so we're excited. I know Leslie had mentioned this, but we're super excited about the fact that the application for preschool has launched today. And so we want everybody to know April 21st, 9 a.m. was the day that it went live. We're super excited about its launch. We have a goal, and we need you to help us reach that goal. And so we're very ambitious with our early bird application period. We want to get at least 12,000 applications, and so we need your help in doing so.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons why we thought it was very important to make sure that people really understand that families experiencing homelessness, that, you know, there's very little barriers. We want to make sure we're stripping down all those barriers to make sure that those who are most in need of these services, that they know that, 1, it exists, and 2, and they know how to go ahead and access it between community-based organizations and also school-based programs. But we want you to apply for preschool. And how do you do that? You're going to go to our chicagoearlylearning.org website, and there's an application. If application assistance is needed, there's also application assistance. We have locations throughout the city. We also have a hotline number that can be called. We have technical support ready, but we're ready, and we want to be able to be there to support families. In terms of community-based programs and what we offer high quality programs that are available for children in Chicago as young as 6 weeks old. We also have prenatal services as well. So even pregnant moms, those who, you know, we have a doula program as well through the city of Chicago. And so we're excited about those prenatal opportunities. So even before 6 weeks, mom's pregnant, you can definitely enroll in our programs. We also provide year-round programs with extended day options. And there is no cost or to low cost options based on families' income. But I want to reiterate that families who are experiencing homelessness, there are no barriers. So we're not asking you to pay anything. As a matter of fact, like I said, there's very little when it comes to verifying, right? And so we want to make sure that we get you the help that you need. We want to make sure that we're providing those supports to you. I think it's critical.
And in the district, we're equally as excited, and we've done our part. I talked a little bit about our collaboration with our Students in Temporary Living Situations office and how they're able to support pre-K to grade 12 students and making sure that they have a seamless transition into school. For our youngest learners, we have 2 program models. We have a half-day programming, which 3-year-olds are prioritized. We have close to over 140 of those classrooms. They run 2 3-hour sessions, an AM and a PM session. And then we also have that program model for our diverse learners. So a lot of those half-day programs are blended classrooms. And when we talk about blended classrooms, we're really talking about a mixed, diverse student population. So we typically have about 6 of our diverse learners in those classrooms, and then we have 14 of our gen ed. So a lot of our half-day, almost all of our half-day programs are blended. So you'll see that mix of gen ed and diverse learner students. And then we have our full day program option, which operates a standard school day. So it's a standard 7-hour program. It's staffed with the teacher assistant. There's generally 20 students in those classrooms, and 4-year-olds are prioritized for that program model. I know, there will be some opportunities for, STLS 3-year-olds maybe, and some categorically eligible 3-year-olds, so students in maybe foster situations or things like that who may be eligible for those types of program options. But generally, our full day is reserved for our 4-year-old student population. And I did drop in the chat the link to Chicago Early Learners. So as Tiffany said, we have an ambitious goal. We need your help. Share that on your website. Let families know that the application is now launched and there are no barriers for enrollment. And so this slide really highlights, and I love the picture. He is so adorable with the little cute little SpongeBob mask. It really highlights, you know, the measures that we've taken in the district to ensure safety. I know when we started to think about reopening that was one of the major concerns from not only teachers, but from families. Like, you know, how are we going to ensure safety? So the district has gone to great measures to put on our website all of the safety precautions that are made available within schools for families and children to be safe. So my daughter is actually attending 2 days a week, and every day we do our health screener. So there's a health screener that the district put in place where you answer questions to ensure that we get a pulse check on how many are exhibiting symptoms of COVID. You know, and then when she gets out the car, she makes sure she has her mask. Masks are required in CPS buildings. And so we have increased our cleaning protocols, but we've extended time between our AM and PM session in our half-day classroom and our half-day program option so that there's additional time for cleaning in between the different pods. We also have in our older grades, I know a hybrid model where Wednesday is a cleaning day, so everyone is remote. So although in our early learning programs, the students attend 5 days a week, there is ample time at the end of the school day to ensure that cleaning is happening appropriately in between the ending the next day and beginning the other. And then the last thing I will say is that we have smaller classroom size. We've reduced our capacity within our CPS rooms to 15. So that allows for more space. And what we've shared with teachers, I know Cristina mentioned earlier that, you know, the room is divided into these interest areas, and generally we would let kids congregate into those interest areas. And now what we're sharing with teachers is utilizing the whole room as a learning space, and maybe making some of those centers mobile so that students have the opportunity to appropriately social distance in the classrooms.
Yeah, those are great points, Leslie. And you know, a lot of the community-based preschool programs are doing some of the similar things. Class sizes have been reduced to be able to accommodate for social distancing. One of the things that community-based programs had to do in order to reopen amidst COVID-19 was they had to submit reopening plans to their DCFS licensing rep, so for the Department of Children and Family Services, because a lot of our facilities are licensed facilities through the state of Illinois. Those plans had to talk about those health and safety measures that each of those sites would be taking in order to ensure child, parent, as well as staff safety. Safety is so critical. I know early on it was amazing to see how well children really adapted to wearing masks. People thought, you know, oh, they would surely pull them off, that this would be uncomfortable. To be honest, I think the younger you are, the better you can learn new routines. I think the older we are, it makes it a little bit more challenging. But the young ones, I mean, they picked up on it. They understood. You explained safety, and you really talked to them in ways in which they can understand. They also understood social distancing and making sure that you stayed so many feet apart from one another, and really kind of doing that spacing and making it fun. You know, before you enter any of our buildings, you have to do temperature checks. And so it's very important to make sure, and also sanitizing throughout the day. And Leslie mentioned, you know, that enhanced cleaning and making sure that we're getting those cleaning routines in, things that are frequently touched, making sure that those touch points get cleaned a lot more frequently. But just being very conscious about making sure that health and safety is in the forefront of our operations. And so that's what we're doing in community-based programs to ensure that We do everything possible to really mitigate risk here. We're still in a pandemic. And we haven't seen this huge, outbreak at our facilities, which is great. We're doing something right here. And so we want to let people know that our doors are going to be open for you. We want to help support you, and we want to make sure that we're keeping everyone safe in doing so.
And one thing I will also mention before we move on is that we provided teachers with PPE, and we provided students with PPE. So families did not have to come, although my daughter has her own little mask that she likes to wear, but she still was provided cloth masks from school that she could utilize as well.
So I saw a question pop up about resources. So we do have a training for community leaders available. We do a training every year where I partner with the Office of Students in Temporary Living Situations to go much more in depth on the benefits, the resources, and the application itself. So this training will walk you through the application step by step so that you could see what the application looks like, so that you could help families fill out the application. People who attend the training also receive resources, posters for your center. If you're a shelter, you'll receive materials to post in your shelter, maybe some goodies for the kids. We also do a lot of follow-up as well. So we have digital resources as well. So if you wanted to post something on your website or in an e-blast. So if you're interested in attending a training, please email us. We have regular trainings that are just on the application, but we also have specialized trainings for case managers of homeless shelters that really walks through the STLS process and also walks you through the application step by step. If you're interested in a training, email us. If you're just interested in resources, because you already know how to do the training, you already know a lot about the STLS office, and you just want some resources, some flyers or some posters to share with your community, email us as well. We're happy to get you materials. Again, as Tiffany and Leslie mentioned, we have an ambitious goal of getting every child in a seat. These resources are available with their enrollment to an early learner center. Comes so many other resources. They're connected to a whole community of resources. So we would like case managers to use Chicago Early Learning as another tool in your toolkit that you offer families when you're doing the intake process. When you're doing an intake process and you see they have young children, that you would know enough about Chicago Early Learning to offer it as help you continue to thrive. So we definitely want to connect with you, whether you use marketing materials or kind of training. Us at info@shylearn.org.
Yeah, Cristina, you were kind of breaking up a little bit there. And so just wanted to say thank you. No, we really appreciate that. I know that there are some questions in the chat. And so maybe we can go ahead and kind of start with some of those and see if we can get them answered. I think some of them we talked about, but maybe we need to go ahead and just kind of reiterate them too.
Yeah, so I can go through and read some of these questions. Thank you guys so much again for this presentation.
Thank you.
So the first one, which I think was kind of addressed, but I think is also an important one, is what if families can't afford masks and other PPE for their students?
Yeah, absolutely. I know Leslie had mentioned that the district is providing those types of resources. We want people to know that that is not a barrier into being able to come to preschool. We want you there. We're going to make sure that you're going to be equipped with the necessary PPE to do so. We have to have so much of it on hand and inventory, and we're doing just that. So all of our sites are going to be equipped for that and making sure that they have enough on site for at least 2 to 3 months out. And that is, we've had donations as well come through for child-sized masks and the cloth ones that are reusable and washable. But we also have on hand the three ply disposable ones as well. And so that is never an issue. If we need to go ahead and replace one during the day, several of them throughout the day, we're going to go ahead and do that because, again, safety is first and foremost. And so we can't stress enough about making sure that we have those resources on hand. Additional hand sanitizer, making sure that there's several stations near and dear so that those hands can get sanitized often. And then also making sure that hand washing is something that occurs, more frequently than previously scheduled. And so we're taking those steps to make sure that those basic things are going to be covered, and that's going to be no expense to the parent.
Great. And connected to that, is there virtual or distance learning options for families who do not want to do in person?
Currently, yes, we are offering both options. So we have schools that are able to provide in person. They have enough students where all of them want to come in person up to the 15. And so that's definitely available. We also have classrooms that are offering a hybrid approach or doing simultaneous teaching. So they're teaching a handful of students in person, but then there are still a handful that are attending remote. And so the teacher is working with both of them at the same time, along with the teacher assistant. So there's group activities planned where the students at home are able to participate just as well as the students are in person. And then we have classrooms that are operating fully remote. The teacher is remote as well as the students. And so there's multiple options, for learning to happen in preschool space within the district. It's just dependent on the family's comfort level, and we try to accommodate that. The district put out a survey. We had over low 50% of pre-K parents express remote. And so for that other close to, 40-something percent, a little 50%, they came back in person.
Yeah, that's great, Leslie. I think in community-based programs, we're doing much of the same. We want to respect parent choice. And so the safety of your child, we understand that you have a say in whether your child is going to come in a building or not. And we want you to know that we're going to be there to support, whether it's remote or if it's face-to-face in person. So we're here to support. Don't back down from enrolling because you think that there is a limit to this. We are definitely willing to go ahead and explore those options with you and service you either way.
Awesome. I also saw some questions. We will be emailing out the PowerPoint that has the link to contact if anyone has more questions. This presentation is also going to remain available on the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless Facebook page, and will also be uploaded to YouTube. So we will be sending that around to everyone who registered. All right, so our next question, in light of COVID, will our pre-K students automatically come to our kindergarten regardless of district?
So right now for pre-K, it's solely parent choice. So parents can plan to attend their neighborhood school, or they can plan to attend a school outside of their community area or attendance area. And so ideally, we would like to move towards a pathway where students attend pre-K and they also attend K, but our early childhood programs are set up for families to apply for where they would like to attend. So right now, there is no prioritization for if you attend outside of your attendance area that you're automatically enrolled in that same school for kindergarten. You would have to, if you're attending pre-K outside of your attendance area and you want to stay at that school for K, you would need to follow the process for Go CPS. And so you would need to apply for that kindergarten classroom through our Go CPS process.
Thank you. And then someone asked, when does the application close?
So our application is year round. It does not close. So we launched today, plug.
Yay!
You will be able to continue to enroll for the next 3 weeks. We're taking applications and not offering placement. So please spread the word. And then after that, what happens is you submit an application and then you receive automatic response or placement or for the school sites that you selected. You'll either be placed or you'll be waitlisted automatically. And so that process will continue on till the end of year.
Yeah, so the bottom line of what Leslie mentioned, the application does not close.
Yes.
We want you. We want you today and we want you tomorrow. We want you every day. So we're keeping that application open all year round.
Awesome. And sort of related to so you mentioned this early bird, what's the benefit of families applying early?
Yeah, I'll defer to Tiffany on that one.
Yeah, I think applying early, we all have a choice and kind of where we see ourselves, right? And I think that when you apply early, it opens up more choices or more doors for you to be able to get into what you identify as being your first choice. We believe in parent choice and we want you to be able to kind of get that. But the only way to go ahead and kind of secure or a better chance of you securing is when you apply early. And so we really want people to go ahead and take advantage of the early bird application process. Because as you can imagine, we plan on getting those 12,000 applications. And so once those slots at different schools and community-based organizations are offered, then those are seats that are offered. I can't offer those same seats to anybody else. And so those who apply later, maybe your first choice is no longer available because maybe it was popular, right? And so you just run the risk of not getting your first choice when you wait until later. And so that's why we want to make sure that our families, especially those who are at risk and most vulnerable, we want to make sure that they understand how to go about applying, and then also understanding that we want you, and we want you to understand that we want you to want us too.
And the only thing I would add, I think Tiffany summed it up great. It's like, I always say, like, it's like going to the buffet. You know what you want to eat and you're way down the line and you see them come in and you see like, oh, there's only so many pieces of hot bread left. And if I was at that front of the line, I may have had a better chance to get that hot, fresh bread than I would if I'm further down, longer in the line. So it's really about, this is why this first early bird is so critical, because you're one of the first to be considered for all of the open seats. And like Tiffany said, once we start giving them out, we can't reissue them. So this 3 weeks is very critical. And one of the things that I also share across the district is that during this time, we have a good rate of families getting, it's roughly close to 80% or 85% families either get their first or they get their second choice. So it's critical that you capitalize on these next 3 weeks to be able to get the slot at the school, at the CBO, community-based organization that you want.
Awesome, thank you. The next question is, when will the new enrollment packets be available?
And when you say enrollment packets, can you be, what do you mean?
That is a good.
Our application is electronic, so everything is submitted online. Once you receive, so once the early bird period is over and we start to generate placements, once you get your offer, then you would go for CPS, you would go to a school, and then the school would support you with completing their enrollment packet for that specific school and get you enrolled into the school once documents are verified, if that's required for your unique situation. So there's no other packet other than to apply other than completing the application online. Now, there will be some additional forms to fill out once you receive placement and go to your school or CBO of choice.
Yeah, and remember, Leslie, we used to talk about this kind of in a three-step approach. So it's application, it's verification, and then it's enrollment. And so those enrollments, they do happen at the actual site that you've been offered a seat at, right? Where then you have that application packet, well, the enrollment packet, I'm sorry, the enrollment packet to go ahead, all those, you know, those pieces of paper that have to kind of go along with your child being able to, you know, so that's kind of the process: apply, verify, and then enroll.
Awesome. Yeah, and the person did follow up with clarifying for the registration at the school level. So yeah, hopefully that answered that question. So it looks like that is all the questions we have right now. So I just want to leave space if there was anything else that you all wanted to say or include. Again, just thank you so very much for this wonderful information and just really explaining how significant and important preschool is and the options that are available.
I do see a question, Alyssa, in the chat to say, can you describe the verification process for students who are homeless? And I think that's what we kind of echoed, all throughout the presentation, is that if students who are experiencing homelessness have the documents to verify proof of age and proof of Chicago address, great. If they don't, that's fine too, because that does not prevent them from applying, enrolling, getting a seat in either a school or a CBO. So just a family still.
Yeah.
Yes, so families should still apply. Yes, they should apply through the application, but that verification process is where we could support them even more through our STLS office and through supports that are provided through the city on DFSS's side.
Yeah, and so on the DFSS side, when it comes to our community-based organizations, we do have a verification process that's similar to CPS, but when we talk about kind of what do we need to do, so there's a verification process to verify whether a family is homeless. A program may accept a written statement from a homeless service provider, school personnel, or other social service agency attesting that a child is homeless, or any other documents that would indicate homelessness, including documentation from a public or private agency. And that can include a declaration, information gathered on enrollment or application forms, or an interview with self-proclamation. So there's various ways that we can go about attaining that. But again, the site where the verification will occur, they will definitely kind of go into that with you. But everybody apply regardless, and the verification stage is next, and we'll let you know exactly what you want to, what you need to do. Leslie mentioned it, I've mentioned it. We want to reduce barriers. We're not trying to put up any for you. And so if it's easier for you to have a self-proclamation, and that kind of thing, we're going to work with you in order to make sure that this is not a barrier for you.
Awesome. And I do see one other question. Where can families go if they don't have a computer or iPad available for registration?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Cristina?
So
Cristina, there's many different ways, right?
Yeah.
I will say we have family resource centers. We've partnered with Chicago Public Libraries to offer in their regional libraries where there's extended hours. And they're there today. So if you want to go today, if you want to go in, they're waiting for you. But you do have to complete a health screener. So we have 6 locations that are available where families could either go in to get support with applying or during that verification process, that second step of the application process, they can go there to verify documents. We can send that information to you, but it's also listed on the Chicago Early Learning website. So you can also find our family resource centers listed there as well.
Awesome. And then we'll take a few more. So it says families in STLS that do not have anything to verify age, what do we do?
Right. So again, I know for CPS, I do want to say two things. One is going back to the last question where we talked about the families needing support. We gave talked specifically about the collaboration with Chicago Public Libraries. We do have a partner in collaboration with Illinois Action for Children, and they have are manning our citywide hotline. So if families would also need support with completing the application, they're able to call the hotline. That number is in the chat as well. There are representatives there who are able to support in English and Spanish. And they have a new fancy chat that they can chat with you as well. If you have just questions around the application and you don't want to call in, you're in process. So just wanted to put that out there as well. But, you know, we hopefully shared throughout this presentation that there are no barriers for families who are experiencing homelessness with applying for the application. If they don't have the documents, that's okay. They're still able to apply and enroll. I mean, that's the key to this whole conversation, that, you know, we're trying to get the word out that there are no barriers to families experiencing homelessness with applying for preschool. In the district specifically, our STLS liaisons are there to support in any capacity to help students and families either retrieve the documents that they need, and maybe it takes a little bit longer, or they're able to support if they just don't have the documentation. They're able to support you. So I would lean on them.
Absolutely, and it's the same in our community-based programs. Leslie hit the nail on the head. We want to be able to support you. It's not going to be a condition of enrollment. You can still enroll in the programs, and we'll work with you on the back end to get what you need. We understand every situation is different, and we don't want to go ahead and put up those nuances when we understand that homelessness is a categoric eligibility for enrollment in our programs, okay? You're categorically eligible for them. We want to make sure that you know that.
Yeah, and on the application, there is a series of questions, of course, but one of the questions is housing status. So if the family indicates there that they are a family living in a temporary living situation, then that, I saw a question like, how do parents identify themselves as homeless? On the application, there is a field that is housing status where they would indicate it there. And then lastly, I want to say, if there's case managers on this call, community leaders, if families don't have, devices or iPads or computers, we would hope that you could help them, fill out the application. I put the training in the chat where you could come to a training to learn how to fill out the application so that you could help families. And we're hoping that you would consider this application as part of your intake process and part of the tools you're able to offer families that you serve within your community.
And I just want to say, Cristina, too, our elementary schools are able to support. So principals are on board. They each have identified someone at their school to support with preschool enrollment. So please, don't wait just for, to attend a family resource center or, work directly with community partners. Go to your neighborhood schools for support as well. Okay.
Yes. And somebody asked about refugees, and I just want to also say that we do not ask for citizenship in our application. We don't require citizenship documentation. So that's very important. We just ask that they live in Chicago, period. So you're not required to show resident documentation. So that's all of this also applies to refugees who are homeless or other immigrant communities.
In some of our programs, you don't even have to live in Chicago. And when you're homeless, you don't even have to prove that you live in Chicago if you identify as homeless.
Yes, awesome. Thank you all so much. If you are experiencing homelessness or families around you are, please pass along information that they should 100% apply if they have eligible children, that they should indicate that they're experiencing, housing insecurity, that they should feel free to reach out, that there are lots of supports available. As I said in the chat, the Law Project, we are more than happy to help, and we'll send out contact information after this in our email. You can reach out to me at aphillips@chicagohomeless.org. You can reach out via the links that were Cristina provided as well, the early learning hotline, which was also in the chat. Reach out to the STLS department. There are numerous resources, as it is so important to make sure that families know this is available, that there are programs there. If you have any questions, please reach out, please share along the information. And thank you so much, all of you, for taking time to be here. We are really grateful for this information you shared.
Thanks for having us.
Right, and with that, have a great rest of your weeks, your weekends. And again, this is going to be on Facebook. You can watch the video again. We'll send it out as well after. So thank you all so much.
Great. Thank you.
All right, thank you.